Okay, thank you all for joining us tonight, and thank you for welcoming your friends and family to join us too. And tonight we have Dr. Wallach with us, and if you haven't been to a zoo or aquarium lately, you don't know what you don't know. And tonight we want to just share with you that Dr. Wallach is the man that did the research to save the white rhino, and every single zoo and aquarium in the world uses his thesis he had for his college thesis is made into a manual that is used for the care of every zoological and aquarium in the world. We're so proud and honored to have you here tonight. The floor is yours.
Thank you so very much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Loud and clear, Doc.
Okay, thanks for the kind introduction and welcome to all of our friends and associates. And, you know, it's a time and space thing, that's for sure. And I want to talk about life expectancy today. That's essentially our business, life expectancy. And depending on whose list you look at, the USA's life expectancy is somewhere between 75 and 79, depending on what date you're looking at. Okay, so somewhere between 75 and 79, again, depending on whose stuff. Right now, one of the oldest cultures is from Singapore. Their average life expectancy is 84.8. General practitioners, medical doctors in the United States, their life expectancy is 80.3. Okay, they live to be 80.3. Surgeons, medical doctors in the United States live to be 79, kind of like the same as the average person. And then emergency room doctors, medical doctors in the United States who work at emergency rooms, their life expectancy is 58.7. Why is it so bad? Well, they just live on soft drinks and fast foods and stuff like that because they're always busy 24 hours 7 and they just eat quick stuff and don't take vitamins and minerals, and that's why they live to be 58.7. Okay, now the U.S. right now is ranked by many world organizations, and they rank the United States as 26th, okay, in life expectancy. There's 26, that's not very good, okay. Now it used to be, I think, 54, something like that. We were 54th, now we rank 26th. It's still bad. Despite we spend more money for healthcare than all the other countries in the world. We rank 26 in life expectancy, okay? The healthcare system is actually based on pharmaceuticals and relieving symptoms primarily. They're not into prevention really, except for maybe some vaccinations for infectious diseases, but they're not into prevention for the degenerative diseases, okay? And let's see here. Oh, somebody's got to, you got to quiet these other people as they're talking. Okay, Jean Calment from France is the oldest documented person in recent times. 1997, she died at age 122. Okay, and 164 days, that's the record currently. Okay, and in the USA, 1 out of 5 Americans will live longer than age 65. 1 out of 5, the other 4 will die before then. So those are facts from the US government. Let's see here. Albania, their oldest person documented was 111. Argentina, the oldest person they had that's documented is 115. The Hunzas, documented, depending on what part of the Himalayan mountains you come from, ranges from 100 to 120. Okay. And they said that right now, somewhere around 400,000 Americans are expected to live, let's see here, up to 100 years of age in the coming future. Well, it didn't give a time limit. It says in the next 6 months, the next 6 years, but that's what they're talking about. 400,000 Americans are expected to live to 100, okay? And that's 1.73, less than 2 people, 1.73 people per 10,000 will turn 100 in the United States. So that's kind of interesting stuff. And it's very important to appreciate that, 122 gene Kelment. And then let's look at some of these people. Let's look at some of these people. Let's see here. And we already talked about Moses and Noah and that sort of stuff, Methuselah would be 969, or excuse me, 696. No, 969. Wow. Noah lived to be 950. Noah is Methuselah's grandson, and Moses lived to be 80. All right, so that's where we are there. Now, I want you to appreciate that we do have the nutrients necessary to give the body what it needs to maximize health and longevity. This is not difficult. The body requires nutrients. For instance, would you just put dirt from Texas in your car instead of oil? No, you put oil in the car. Nobody's that dumb to put dirt from Texas. Well, there's bound to be some oil in that dirt from Texas. Come on, Wallach. Nobody would do that. But people say, according to my doctor says, I can get everything I need just by eating well. Well, that used to be close to true, but not 100% true. Prior to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, on Pearl Street, New York City, in the bluff overlooking the electricity. Okay, that's when Thomas Edison pulled the switch and turned on the electricity, right? And at that point, things started going in a different direction, because prior to electricity, everybody used wood and coal for fuel, and wood ashes and coal ashes were 98% minerals and 2 to 3% carbon. Okay. And so it's one of those things where people were putting wood ashes in the gardens, and the carrots and the onions and potatoes and beans and squash and tomatoes and carrots would suck up those minerals. We'd eat those vegetables. We got our minerals that way. Okay. And then grandma would put ashes from the wood stoves and coal stoves into our food as a spice, and put in the big salt shakers and shake them into our food. Okay. And we get minerals that way again, 98% minerals and 2 or 3% carbon. Well, now what we're talking about now, the annual cost of treating arthritis in the United States, just arthritis, is $626.8 billion. Just treating the symptoms of arthritis, pain, noisy joints, all that kind of stuff, limited range of motion. $626.8 billion just to treat the symptoms, not to prevent it or cure it. Now, osteoporosis is kind of related to arthritis. Arthritis, they're specifically talking about joints, but you get osteoporosis of the joints, and the cartilage goes away and all that kind of stuff. You get various types of osteoporosis, cartilage damage. So we're talking about arthritis. But then here comes osteoporosis, which people think of as just a bone thing, not a joint thing, but it's actually the bones, including the joints. When you take the three communities that are related, US, Canada, and the EU or European Union, we all kind of came from the same people. The cost, you have to sit down, because the cost of just treating the symptoms of osteoporosis in those three countries annually is 6.5 trillion with a T, 6.5 trillion with a T. It doesn't prevent osteoporosis. It doesn't cure osteoporosis, just treats the symptoms. 6.5 trillion. When we divide it up equally, that's 2.2 trillion per country. That's 2.2 trillion we're spending just to treat the symptoms of osteoporosis. That's scary. So when you take what we're doing for arthritis and osteoporosis, we're looking at $3 trillion a year just spending money to treat the symptoms of these two terrible diseases. They're not genetic, they're not autoimmune, they're just simple nutritional deficiency diseases. So we have some work to do. Of course, we want people to take per 100 pounds of body weight, one healthy brain and heart pack per month. It has 215 nutrients, including the 90 essential nutrients. We want them to take 1 bottle a month of the MSM, which will support and promote maintenance repair, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, bone breaks, bone itself. And then we want them to have 1 scoop of the collagen peptides at the morning drink and evening drink. Okay, it's also going to help rebuild the cartilage and ligaments and tendons and connective tissue and bones and bone matrix. We want them also to take beyond OsteoFX, take a scoop of that. I do that every morning, an evening, take a scoop of that in your morning drink, your evening drink. And that's going to help give you more calcium and other minerals. And don't forget 3 vitamin D3 capsules twice a day, 3 at breakfast, 3 at dinner time. That's 2 bottles a month of vitamin D3 capsules. And people say, well, I live in Florida. Yeah, but how much time do you spend in your bikini out in the sun? Well, none. Yeah, most adults in these sunny places, they sit in the shade. It's just the kids running around without the shirts in the sun. And so that's why we have a problem. Okay. And so this is very, very crazy stuff when you think about it. And so kids under the age of 16, there's 300,000 kids in the United States are medically diagnosed with arthritis, juvenile arthritis. Now, there's probably double or triple that many that grandma diagnoses. Grandma diagnoses, oh, you have growing pains. That's why you have noisy joints and you have pain in your joints, because you have growing pains. And so everybody says, oh, okay. She says, just, eat grandma's cooking and you'll outgrow it. Well, that used to be true in the days of the wood stoves and coal stoves, but not now. Okay, now you have to take the 90 essential nutrients. And of course, we have the programs that are already made for you. You don't have to put them together. We've done that. And just simple diseases of osteoporosis of the skull. And of course, osteoporosis of the skull is the same as osteoporosis of your hips and your knees and your vertebrae and your arm bones and leg bones and so forth. When you have osteoporosis of the skull gets thicker because of the connective tissue. And when you squeeze the 12 pairs of cranial nerves in the spinal cord, you get 37 different diseases. When the skull squeezes a cranial nerve number 1, you get a loss of sense of smell. Cranial nerve number 2 gets squeezed by the skull, you get optic nerve atrophy. Okay, and that means you slowly lose your vision. Cranial nerve number 3 gets squeezed by osteoporosis of the skull. You get ptosis, your pupil won't respond to light. Cranial nerve number 4 gets squeezed, you get double vision and palsy, pain, and all that kind of stuff in the tissue around your eye, including the eye. And then trigeminal neuralgia. Okay, this is pain in the eyelids above and below the eye, your cheeks, and all that kind of stuff, your upper lip, your lower lip. That's trigeminal neuralgia. That's the 5th cranial nerve being squeezed. And then cranial nerve number 6 gets squeezed. You get double vision, strabismus, Bell's palsy. If half your face shrinks and sags, unless you get it on both sides, which is possible. It's the 7th cranial nerve being squeezed. The 8th cranial nerve being squeezed. You get tinnitus, ringing in the ears, deafness. You get vertigo, that sort of stuff. Dizziness, Meniere's disease, balance problems. The 9th cranial nerve gets squeezed. You lose your ability to swallow. Your gag reflex goes away. Your reflex goes away. Your gag reflex goes away. Your voice changes. Your ability to taste foods change. When your 10th cranial nerve gets squeezed, you get many serious life-threatening problems here. Okay, you get the hiccups because a branch of the 10th cranial nerve is dealing with the your diaphragm. So you get hiccups. You get AFib. It's not a heart problem, as doctors want you to believe. They want to do ablation. They want to put a hot branding iron on your heart. They want to anesthetize you, cut you open, take your heart out, put a hot branding iron on your heart, stop it from doing crazy things. But it's the 10th cranial nerve being squeezed by osteoporosis of the skull, causing this. Also, it causes gastroparesis when the 10th cranial nerve is being squeezed with terrible pain in the stomach. And doctors want you to believe it's due to ulcers. Want to do stomach surgery and take out half your stomach. But they really just want to cut that 10th cranial nerve. Okay. The 11th cranial nerve, when it gets squeezed, you get a loss of function of the trapezius muscles and the mastoid muscles. So you can't do this. You can't raise your arms. Okay. The 12th cranial nerve, when it gets squeezed, you get atrophy of the tongue, the difficulty in swallowing, your speech changes. So when you get atrophy of the squeezing of the 12th cranial nerve as well as the 9th cranial nerve, you can't communicate. The spinal cord, as it comes out of the back of the skull, you get what's called Wallach fibrosis. You get like 17 different diseases, everything from sciatica to every kind of thing you can think of for pain in your joints and so forth. And Erb's palsy in newborn babies, because newborn babies can get the spinal cord being squeezed because of osteoporosis of the skull if the mother's not getting the nutrients during pregnancy. And so this is very, very common stuff. And of course, you're going to go to 15 different specialists when really all you need to do is take the Healthy Start Packs, the MSM, the vitamin D3, the collagen peptides, the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets for circulation, and the Beyond OsteoFX. It all goes away. And so that's why we do what we do, because we can make all that stuff go away when you have osteoporosis of the skull. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our dear friends here.
Oh.
And
Dr. Wallach, I want to thank you so much for articulating that. So we understand that we all pretty much are having these nutritional deficiencies.
yes,
And so if we stay away from the foods that are like barley, rye, oats, wheat, and sweets, that's going to help, right? It will help. And
what it'll do, it'll increase your ability to absorb nutrients, because when you're eating the gluten, wheat, barley, rye, and oats, you're losing the ability to absorb nutrition of all kinds, but particularly minerals, because gluten kills the villi in your intestines. Your villi in your intestines make your intestine look like a shag rug. When those villi go away, now suddenly your intestines look like, oh, a plastic tube. You've lost 98% of the absorptive surface, and that's why gluten is so bad. And so this is why you have certain countries in the world that eat a lot of gluten, eat a lot of wheat, and that's why they have so many troubles. And you can just pick the countries in the world that have all these health problems and behavior problems. That's because they're eating wheat, 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 wheat. And then you look at people who are rice eating, okay, because they're Asians, they don't have most of those problems that the European countries have. Okay.
gotcha. And so that gliadin, can you explain the gliadin protein?
Yeah, well, gliadin is what they call gluten in oats. Gliadin is still gluten. It's just they gave it a different name. Okay. Just like they could say, oh, penicillin can kill staph infections. You can also say there are antibiotics that kill staph infections. It's kind of the same thing, but not quite the same thing.
And so we can develop allergies from certain things, right? Proteins or things like that, correct?
That's correct.
And so how does that work? How do we get an allergy?
Okay, well, your body doesn't like certain things. And when your body gets inflammation, it hurts, it's pain, swelling, your body will send in the cavalry, I call it. They send in the cavalry. White blood cells, which are made, in your bone marrow, white blood cells, they're stored in your lymph nodes, but they're made in the white blood cells in your bones, okay? And so you really, really have to keep your bones and your bone. And so this is really very important. And of course, this is why grandma always used to say, oh, you have growing pains. That's why you have these pains in your knees and your hips and your shoulders and your neck and your noises and all your bone joints. And you just have growing pains. You'll outgrow it. Well, that's because in those days, they had the wood ashes and the coal ashes. Now they don't have those things. And so those growing pains turn into really serious, really disabling and even life-threatening problems.
So does using electricity cause more energies to disrupt our body?
No,
Okay.
by
But the
using
ash-
by
Yes.
using electricity, we don't have the wood ashes anymore, is where we got our minerals.
Okay. So I don't see any hands up. Could you touch a little bit more on bone marrow?
Okay, the bone marrow, most people never see their bone marrow, but it's very important. This is where we make red blood cells. This is where we make white blood cells. This is where we make antibodies. This is where you make platelets, so your blood clots, and you don't bleed to death when you get a little nick or cut. And so your bone marrow is extremely important. And if you're eating gluten, you can't get the nutrition necessary to make the bone marrow happy, you're in deep trouble. Okay. And so I guarantee that all these people that have all these deep problems, they're eating gluten, they're eating pancakes, they're eating waffles, they're having, let's see here, things like French toast. They're eating all this stuff, these cereals, Wheaties, oatmeal, all the gluten, oatmeal, oats, oatmeal, gluten. And that's why they have trouble. This is something that's universal, but it's also universal if you get rid of all that stuff and eat like an Asian, eat rice and sweet potatoes and beans and squash and vegetables and fish. You know, the old ovo-lacto Pisco diet, which Pisco's fish, ovo's eggs, lactose dairy. Those are the best foods. Dairy is mother's milk. Okay, good protein, good antibodies, good fats. Milk is good. Whoever started the thing that dairy is bad for you, you know, because of, oh, there's bound to be some stuff in there that'll cause plaque in your arteries. No, that's not true. Plaque in your arteries is caused by gluten and also by the oxidation of oils, you know, like salad dressings and cooking oils and that kind of stuff. And so it's imperative to stay away from those things. Absolutely no wheat, no brown rye and oats, no oils, no salad dressings, no cooking oils, no fried foods. All of that will cause plaque in your arteries. It's not cholesterol that's causing plaque in your arteries. That caused so many problems because when you don't have enough cholesterol, you can't make testosterone or estrogen. There's all those problems. You can't make brain. Cholesterol deficiency makes Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Also, the cholesterol deficiency makes these diseases where you get the tremors. Okay. There's about a dozen different diseases where you get tremors, and these are caused by lack of cholesterol. Cholesterol makes up 25% of your brain weight and 25% of your spinal cord weight. If you have a doctor who would tell you, I'm going to give you statin drugs to lower your cholesterol, I want you to give up eating eggs, say, I'm sorry, I'm out of here, bye. Do not listen to that doctor because you're going to wind up with Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, all that kind of stuff because he's giving you misinformation.
You summed that up really well, Dr. Wallach, and I thank you for that. We do have a hand up, but I want to thank you again about the milk is good, dairy is good, but it could be the wheat and oats that the cows are consuming. Right?
Well, cows digest wheat, barley, rye, and oats, and it never reaches the milk.
So when we have milk that is from a cow that is consuming wheat, barley, rye, or oats, then we may be getting that passed on to us, and that's where our intestines could be affected by that. Okay, Anthony, you have your hand up.
Hey, Dr. Wallach.
Yes, sir.
Always a great thing to be on here with you. I have a friend of mine who reached out, referred to me a young lady whose father is 76 years old. This gentleman is 5'9", weighs just a little over 100 pounds. He's not really eating much. And what's a tough situation for this gentleman is that he is living in a nursing home. Now, thankfully, I talked with the daughter, and the family sounds like they're going to be able to get in there hopefully once a day to be able to help this person. But the patient, this father here, has Parkinson's, diabetes, high blood pressure, lactose intolerance, and is underweight.
Okay, well, there's got to be somebody there with him all the time because he cannot have any wheat, barley, rye, or oats.
Yes.
You know, beer has wheat in it. Beer is made from wheat. Unless you're drinking beer from Australia, New Zealand, and Asia. They make it from rice. Okay. And then you say he has diabetes, right? What else he got again? Diabetes?
He's got diabetes, Parkinson's disease, high blood pressure, lactose intolerance.
Okay. So you get all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, no brown rye, no sugar, no carbonated drinks, even the diet ones got to go. The carbonation neutralizes your stomach acid, so you cannot absorb minerals and digest food, absorb minerals and digest food. And then this guy at, you say 100 pounds, needs to have one healthy brain and heart pack per month, half a dose of everything twice a day. He needs 1 bottle a month of the MSM, so he can take 3 at breakfast, 3 at dinner time. He needs 1 scoop of the collagen peptides at breakfast and also at dinner. I'd have him take our Rebound or sports drink with 100 nutrients in it. If he's going to use the cans, he's got to put them at night and don't drink them until the next morning. So it's better to give him the canisters with 36 servings of powder in there, 1 scoop in one of these little bottles of water twice a day. There's no carbonation in the powder, but the cans do have carbonation in them. So you got to pop the tops on them the night before you're going to drink them. So he may not be able to do all that. And then we also want him to have the sweeties, 3 sweeties twice a day. That's 2 bottles a month. If he's on medication for diabetes, he cannot cold turkey off the medication. But as the blood sugar begins to drop, he can slowly reduce medication based on the numbers. So he may need some help. Same way with high blood pressure. He needs 2 bottles a month of the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets. Take 3 of those twice a day. Again, if he's on medication, absolutely, he cannot just cold turkey off the medication. But as the blood pressure begins to come down, he can slowly reduce medication based on the numbers. The goal is to get him out of that nursing, because they're going to give him and try to give him gluten 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times a day, because, you know, they just want to see somebody eating. They want to see somebody taking in calories, that kind of stuff. And they don't know about the attachment between gluten and the inability to absorb nutrition. They don't know about that. All they know is that, oh, Fred here loves oatmeal for breakfast, so Fred's going to get oatmeal for breakfast every morning. Well, they're killing Fred with that oatmeal for breakfast.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're going to have some control over what they feed this guy or get him out of there.
Yes, it's exactly what I told them. I've worked in a nursing home before. The food is typically horrendous, like you mentioned, the foods they give them. And so I explained to them, this is going to be a tricky situation, but the best way we can do this is the more you can get in there and make sure that he's getting the supplements and cleaning up the diet consistently.
And the only guarantee is to get him out of there.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Put him in somebody's house where somebody's at home all the time. That'd be
100%. 100%. Thank you so much, Doc.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay, what else we got here? We have time for one more?
Yep. Anybody call in? If you want to go ahead and unmute your phone, you have a question? Ken?
I have a question.
Mhm.
Doc, are you hearing me?
Yes, who is this?
This is Dan Culp.
Okay, how can I help you, sir?
I want to question you a little bit about what you said about dairy on milk. I've been off of milk for years, but is it better to have a whole milk or pasteurized milk, or what is your recommendation?
Okay, well, pasteurized milk is okay because it just kills the bugs that the cow may have gotten in the milk. It gives it a shelf life because it kills the bugs, pasteurization. That's all it does. There's no chemical changes. Then milk is mother's food, whether you're a whale or a wombat or a kangaroo or a human being, an elephant, kangaroo, cows, sheep, horses, all mammals, their first food is milk. So milk cannot be bad. God gave, you know, everybody says, oh, it's the milk of the earth. It's the milk of this. Milk is the perfect food. And so,
Like eggs, right? Yeah.
okay, so doctors started that nonsense about milk being bad when they mistakenly believed that cholesterol was bad. Oh, there's cholesterol in the milk. You can't have cholesterol, so you can't have dairy anymore. That's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Again, 25% of your brain weight is cholesterol. 95% of testosterone weight is cholesterol. 95% of estrogen weight is cholesterol. And if you're giving up